May the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you. Welcome back to our channel, HistoryTube. Today we will discuss of the fall of Constantinople 1453, how Sultan Mehmed changed history forever, full historical story. May 29, 1453. The time is half past midnight. The yellow moon of the 19th night of the lunar month leans westward over the walls and domes of one of the world's oldest and greatest cities, as if signaling a great impending danger. In the dim light of the setting moon, the stars in the sky seem to witness the slow and disciplined gathering of soldiers outside the city walls. Those soldiers could feel with their hearts that they were standing at the brink of a moment that would change the course of history. The city is Constantinople, present-day Istanbul, and outside its walls, the Ottoman army is preparing for the final assault. For 47 days, Ottoman cannons have been bombarding the city's walls. The commander specifically targeted 3 key spots in order to severely weaken the fortifications. The 21-year-old Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II suddenly arrives at the front lines of his army. He decides that the final attack will take place at a section of the wall known as Mesut Tikiyan, where at least 9 breaches have formed and a large part of the moat has collapsed through the cracks. Wearing a thick turban on his head and dressed in golden robes, the Sultan spoke to his soldiers in Turkish. "My friends and sons, move forward. The time has come to prove yourselves." Immediately, the sound of flutes, horns, drums, and bugles pierced through the silence of the night. Yet, even amid this deafening noise, the thunderous war cries of the Ottoman soldiers could still be clearly heard. They then launched their attack on the weakened section of the wall. From one side, soldiers advanced by land, while from the other, cannonballs were fired from warships stationed at sea. The Byzantine soldiers were prepared to defend the walls. But after 1.5 months of siege, their morale had collapsed. They were disheartened and exhausted. Many ordinary citizens came to help the soldiers, throwing stones at the attackers from near the walls. Others ran to a nearby church, crying and praying. The priests began to ring the church bells loudly, and the clanging sounds woke those who had been asleep. All the Christians, setting aside their sectarian differences, gathered at Hagia Sophia, the city's largest and holiest church. The defense forces fought valiantly to halt the Ottoman advance. But on that day, an Italian physician named Niccolò Barbaro, who was in the city, wrote, "The attackers in white turbans charged like fearless lions, and their chants and the sound of their drums were so intense, it was as if they weren't of this world." By dawn, the Turkish soldiers had reached the top of the city walls. By then, most of the defending forces had been killed, and their commander, Giovanni Giustiniani, was severely wounded and removed from the battlefield. In the first light of the eastern sun, a Turkish soldier was seen lowering the Byzantine flag atop the Kirkaporta gate and raising the Ottoman banner in its place. Sultan Mehmed, riding a white horse along with his ministers and aides, made his way to Hagia Sophia. Upon reaching the main gate, he dismounted, picked up a handful of dust from the ground, and sprinkled it over his turban. Seeing this, his companions were moved to tears. After 7 centuries of struggle, the Muslims had finally conquered Constantinople. This victory was not just the capture of a city or a mere transfer of power from one king to another. It marked the fall of a historic era and the beginning of a new chapter. On one hand, the Roman Empire, which began in 27 BCE, finally collapsed after surviving in one form or another for 1,480 years. On the other hand, the Ottoman Empire reached its peak and went on to rule vast regions of Asia, Europe, and Africa for the next 400 years. The year 1453 is considered the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of the modern era. Moreover, the conquest of Constantinople is seen as a milestone in military history, because it ultimately proved that in the age of gunpowder and massive cannons, cities could no longer be defended by walls alone. After the Turks took control of the city, thousands of Greek-speaking citizens fled and settled in various cities across Europe, especially in Italy. At that time, Europe was going through the Dark Ages and had become disconnected from ancient Greek civilization. But in Constantinople, Greek language and culture were still being practiced. To the refugees arriving in Europe, the most precious treasures were not diamonds or gemstones, but the original Greek manuscripts of philosophers, scientists, and scholars such as Aristotle, Plato, Ptolemy, Galen, and others. They played a major role in reviving ancient Greek science in Europe, and according to historians, this influx of knowledge is what sparked the Renaissance, a rebirth that gave Europe an intellectual and technological edge over the rest of the world for centuries to come, a legacy that continues to this day. However, the young Sultan Mehmed, who is now known as Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror, did not find the city on the morning of May 29th as the grand and magnificent place he had heard about in stories since childhood. After a long period of decline, the Byzantine Empire had withered away, and the population of Constantinople, once the largest and wealthiest city in the world, had dwindled to just a few thousand. Many parts of the city were deserted and had turned into isolated villages, separated from one another. It is said that upon seeing the pitiful state of the city, the young sultan recited a verse attributed to the Persian poet Sheikh Sa'di. The owl calls from the minarets of Afrasiab. A spider weaves its web in the palace of the Roman emperors. The old name of Constantinople was Byzantium. But when Roman Emperor Constantine the Great moved his capital from Rome to this city in 330 CE, the city was renamed Constantinople after him. The Arabs called it Constantinia. Even after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, this Eastern Roman Empire, centered in Constantinople, continued to thrive. From the 4th to the 13th century, the city progressed so much that no other city in the world could compare to it. This is why Muslims had long dreamed of conquering the city. After several early failed attempts to achieve this goal, the Arabs prepared a massive and powerful navy in 674 CE and set out toward Constantinople. The fleet camped outside the city walls and over the next 4 years, repeatedly attempted to breach the walls and enter the city. Finally, in late 678, the Byzantine navy came out of the city and launched a counterattack on the invading Arab forces. This time they had a terrifying weapon in hand known as Greek fire, in Bengali, Atishi Yunani. To this day, the exact composition of Greek fire remains unknown. But it was a highly flammable substance launched using arrows or tubes, which clung to the hulls of ships and boats. What made it even more astonishing was that pouring water on it only made the fire burn more intensely. The Arabs were completely unprepared for this deadly weapon. As a result, within a short time, their entire fleet was engulfed in a sea of flames. Though the soldiers jumped into the water in an attempt to save their lives, it was of no use, because Greek fire kept burning even on the surface of the water. It seemed as if the entire Sea of Marmara had caught fire. The Arabs had no choice but to retreat. On their way back, a devastating sea storm struck, causing even more destruction. Out of hundreds of ships, only about half managed to return. During this siege, the renowned companion of the Prophet, Hazrat Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, R.A., passed away. His grave still lies just outside the city walls. Later, Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror built a mosque at that very spot, which the Turks consider a sacred site. Then in 717 CE, under the Umayyad Caliphate, Emir Sulayman ibn Abd al-Malik launched another siege of Constantinople with better preparation. But this attempt also ended in disaster. Out of nearly 2,000 warships, only 5 were able to return. Perhaps for this reason, Muslims refrained from making any further serious attempts to conquer Constantinople for the next 600 years, until Sultan Mehmed finally raised his flag over the city and fulfilled all past ambitions. After conquering the city, the Sultan moved his capital from Edirne to Constantinople, and assumed for himself the imperial Roman title, Caesar of Rome, Caesari Rum. In the following decade, the city witnessed a revival so remarkable that it rekindled the glory of its ancient past. The Sultan issued a royal decree across his empire. Anyone who wishes to come to this city may do so. They will be given a home and a garden. But that wasn't all. He also invited people from across Europe to settle in Constantinople, so that the city could once again become populated and vibrant. In addition, he began rebuilding the city's destroyed infrastructure, repairing old canals, and reviving the drainage system. He launched a large-scale reconstruction campaign, the most notable examples of which are the Topkapi Palace and the Grand Bazaar. In a short time, various artisans, craftsmen, merchants, calligraphers, painters, goldsmiths, and other skilled professionals began arriving in the city. Sultan Mehmed converted the church known as Hagia Sophia into a mosque. However, he allowed the city's second-largest church, the Church of the Apostles, referred to in Turkish as Kilise Havarian, to remain with the Greek Orthodox community, a religious body that still exists today. During the reign of Sultan Mehmed's son Selim, the Ottoman Empire gained the status of the Caliphate, and Constantinople became its capital and the central city for all Sunni Muslims. Under the rule of Sultan Mehmed's grandson, Sulayman the Magnificent, Constantinople reached new heights of glory. This is the same Sulayman who is portrayed in the famous Turkish TV series Muhteşem Yüzyıl, My Sultan. Sulayman the Magnificent's queen, Hürrem Sultan, hired the renowned architect Mimar Sinan, who built a grand palace for her. Some of Sinan's other famous architectural works include the Süleymaniye Mosque, Hürrem Sultan Hammam, Khosrow Pasha Mosque, Seytsad Mosque, and several other landmarks. The fall of Constantinople had a deep impact on Europe, inspiring the creation of books, poems, and many paintings. The event became a part of Europe's collective historical memory, and for this reason, Europe never truly forgot it. Despite being an important member of NATO, the European Union still hesitates to grant Turkey full membership, and one reason behind this is the centuries-old history linked to the conquest of Constantinople. Even today, Thursday is considered an unlucky day in Greece, because May 29, 1453, the day Constantinople fell, was a Thursday. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, like, comment, and share with fellow history lovers. On HistoryTube, we uncover forgotten tales, legendary lives, and epic events, from prophets to emperors, from revelations to battles. Subscribe and hit the bell to never miss an episode. Join us as we travel through time, from creation to the end of the world. HistoryTube, where the past comes alive.